The Burning Library. The sages of the Vellum Citadel publicly swore fealty to Kairos, but from within the safety of their Vellum Citadel, these scholars continued to study and copy forbidden lore. Used magic to repulse any attempts by the disfavored and Scarlet Chorus to claim the Citadel that was promised to the Overlord. In retribution, Kairos pronounced the Edict of Fire on the Vellum Citadel, turning the home of the School of Ink and Quill into a smoldering ruin now known as the Burning Library. 2.5 days travel. So there's a few things to think about here, and I'll have to figure out how I want to deal with this in general. It's a library, it's full of information. I generally like to have information and read things, but, the entire place was lit on fire because Kairos doesn't want anyone to know anything inside of it, so if I do behave loyally to Kairos or to Tunon, then perhaps it's not a good idea to be reading anything in here. And then there's the additional layer of the fact that the voices of Narat should have very specific reason to want knowledge, because he always wants all the information he can find. And if I know stuff from inside of here, he might even try to consume me, which could lead to me fighting against the voices of Narat, so I don't know. We'll play it by ear, I guess, and I'll see how I react to some of the information as it comes up. Boop. No ambush. Those only happened... How many ambushes have we had so far? 3? I think the time I got stopped by Redaman at the bridge was considered an ambush. Then, of course, there was the Kills and Shadows and the one in time of the prologue with Ebb. So, surprisingly, I don't think any of my travels have been interrupted by actual random encounters of any kind, which is what I kind of expected to happen in a Dragon Age origin sort of way. Instead, it's been various scripted events that happened along the way. And we've got a response. Because the travel took 2.5 days. And that'll make that happen pretty quickly. Dear Lovebridge, your summation is most fascinating. Thank you for sharing. You are certainly not the first to proclaim an edict. Many of us have been used to complete the casting of the Overlord's magic. And you aren't the first to break an edict. Another typo. An edict. Though the list of names is a smaller, more exclusive list. What's curious, though, living in recording memory make no mention of someone who proclaimed and shouted the same edict. In that regard, you are an anomaly. I understand that it might be curious, the fact that this never happened before, but it doesn't seem that interesting. You read the edict, here's the rule of the edict. Oh no, the same person like, it's just a rule that... It's just a rule or some condition that has to be fulfilled. And if the person who reads the edict itself is going to die if the edict's not fulfilled, then it's not really unreasonable that the person themselves might be the one who fixes the problem. I don't know. Everyone keeps acting like this is an anomaly in a way that doesn't seem like it really is that... It doesn't seem that interesting to me. The bad news is the Archons know this and will be suspicious of this distinction. Why? I don't see why this matters. Along with the parchment, I have included the contact information of the Honorable Fatebinder Meothis, an old peer of mine and perhaps the most knowledgeable in the court on matters not taught to us by Tunon. Treat her with respect. She will not betray your confidence. Best of luck, Lovebridge. I think things are about to get even stranger for you. Fatebinder Rogueless, and that's it. No ability to respond or anything, so that's the end of that. So that'll be archived with the others. And there's that may be the end of our next pen pal session, I guess. Oh, there's a new one. Is this... Yeah, that's Meothis. Quill in the hand, you loom over a blank sheet of parchment. You have Binder Meothis' contact information in hand and contemplate your opening words. I can be polite or brash, or I can send payment? What's 500 rings? Is that 5 bronze or something? It almost feels like a bribe at that point. I don't know. They're a Fatebinder. I shouldn't have to pay them. They're part of our group, right? Let's just be polite. Dear Fatebinder Meothis, I write you at the urging of my peer and tutor, Fatebinder Rogueless, something like that. He has found himself bereft of answers, a rare condition for him. It suggested you may be the only source of the answers I seek. If you will pardon the imposition, it would mean a great deal to learn what you know of Kairos' edicts and the magic of the spires. The mountain spire of the Tears has awoken to my presence, an event that occurred moments after I resolved an edict of Kairos. So, it's critical I learn just what has happened to me, and what it all means. I thank you in advance for your consideration and wisdom, Fatebinder Lovebridge. And send. These missives are interesting, because it seems like they might even encourage me to travel more often, to make more time pass. Because the longer I spend in a zone like this, just hanging out, the more the time just goes forward at the normal linear way of really slow in-game clock, as opposed to the way that I can just skip 2 days by traveling around. And as a result, it seems like I might be at risk of, like, I don't know, beating the game before the missives ever finish. Like, who's to say? That's gonna take forever to stealth around if I try to go that way. What's that? There's a body up there. What did I just find? Curious. Oh, it's behind the body that I was just looking at. There's like a purple spot. That's straight up lava. How are these trees burning? Shouldn't they be, like, gone forever? Are the trees also protected by the magic that makes the books not burn? They're made of the same stuff, technically, I guess. I don't know if that level of logic is applied here. Yeah, I don't know why the trees would still be burning. You'd think they'd be gone by now. Just, it's been a while, right? Sigil of Reaching Grasp. Scroll contains magical accent which increases the range of a spell. Neat. So now it's the rank 2 of the previous one, increasing its grasp even further. Let's see here. So restoring touch, for example. Disable that real quick. This is +2. That's +4. But it costs twice as much for reaching twice as far. But at that point, if you apply that to your touch spell, your touch spell almost gets the reach of a ranged spell. What this one? Yeah, this is the Healing Wisps, for example. The ranged version of the spell is 8 meters. The touch one is 2 meters. You give it plus. You give it that +4, and suddenly it's 6 meters. It's getting in the territory of the other one. So I assume there's probably a third rank. And at that point, the third rank would make your melee range spells into long range spells. You apply it to a weapon buff spell, and then suddenly your characters are buffing weapons from across the screen. The corpses of sages are skewed on these spikes. Their skin has been blackened by the heat of the magma belching from nearby fissures. So that's clearly a staircase here to move forward in. I'm going to avoid that for now and check out the side path. There's something over here. Looks like a relatively small map area, too. Anything gonna fight me? Friends? Looks like Scarlet Chorus, Foul, Murmur, and Folant. I'll look around a little bit. The shelf is well separated from the surrounding area and looks quite perilous to scale. Strange, rocky protrusions can be seen along the top, likely magical in nature. Oh, those bodies. Stone shield boots. Let's get these on my main character who uses leather. A drowsy drop. Asleep for 30 seconds. Well, that could be nice. No one else over here? Doesn't look like it. Oh, this body too. More drowsy drops. Why not? Let's compare these. Ooh. 1% deflection, 6 disengagement defense. Same overall stats as far as I can tell. That's good. There, and it looks cooler. That's also good. Oops, I switched them back on accident just now. These are the bad ones, right? Yeah. Look at that. Can I get a full set of, like, purple-plated leather? Because that looks cool. I actually like, aside from the silly-looking hat, which admittedly hides this, it doesn't look great either. Not psyched about the overall look of the character. All the stuff down here looks cool, like the shield, the armor, the plated boots and everything. The gloves haven't caught up yet. I only chose this head for the 3D model to make it look somewhat like this portrait, because I like the portrait better than I like the most comparable hairstyle to what the portrait looks like. Honestly, I find myself wishing when I play these games like Shadowrun and this game, I wish that they would make all the portraits and then base the 3D models they make on the elements of the portraits so that you can actually make them look similar. Because even this hair looks like he's got one of those hairstyles you kind of see people in San Francisco have sometimes where they just shave the sides of their head, but the rest is long. But this guy's just got like a spiky mohawk, which is not the same thing, but it's as close as you can get. The best I can say is at least it looks comparable from this angle, but that's about it. But I would love for the two to match. I know a lot of people don't care about that. So let's talk to the lead guy first, as far as I can tell, because sometimes people get pissy if you don't. A twisted man leans over two forms on the ground. One is robed, figure covered in bruises. Another is a soldier, horribly burned, lying motionless to the side. The blood-stained man flashes a gap-toothed smile. I would welcome you properly, Fatebinder, but my hands are full. As if that reminds him, he looks down, absent-mindedly, licks a drop of blood from his finger. If you are here on business, you should speak to our leader, the censor. Her tent is to the east, near the main entrance to the library. The robed figure moans, and the man kicks him. Our troops are making great progress in the ruins below, and could benefit from your assistance. He glances at the bodies. I know how this must look, but it's all in compliance with Tunan's law. He shrugs and turns away. If you don't mind, I'm eager to resume my work. Ah, is this an interrogation? Fatebinder, have you come to torture me too? So we can't interact with them? It's just... that's it? Okay, so this is just a minor distraction, more or less. Do I know Folant? Wait, what was the faction of Folant again? Is there a... oh, there's Sage's Guild character. Okay. Haven't met them yet.
On it.
Whenever I hear about a place getting hit by an edict, I think I've made the mistake of thinking that the edict resolved the problem, but I think they largely have not resolved the problem. It seems that we're going to encounter the Sages Guild as if they're still here, when I totally thought that when they lit the whole place on fire, that the Sages Guild would be dead, and like, oh no, but the books are still alive in the fire somewhere. Similarly, when we did like the Sword Storm Tornado Nightmare scenario, I thought that was going to be the end of that scenario, but obviously we can go there and try to deal with the fact that the king is still huddled away inside. So in both cases, I was on the wrong track, thinking that either situation was taken care of. The Fatebinder, your bloodletting is legendary. The censor would be honored to receive you. Just some random horde character. Ooh, yes, thank you. Just throwing some healing items around. Can I even take that? Oh, I finally rested. So I finally have room for just a little more. Don't mind me. Ooh, iron. And alchemy. These are good things to find. There's the Censor, Blood Chanter, Beast Woman, so they're nameless characters. Weird force field. This passageway has been blocked by magic field. It isn't clear how one might remove it. That guy got the double treatment right there. Or is that 3? Is he impaled 3 times? That just sounds like work. So these are all members of the Sages Guild then. Like he's wearing the same uniform that Lantry was when we met them. Scarlet Fury. So this is probably the right place to bring Lantry to for story reasons, because he's probably going to have reactions to what's going on around him. Those are random horde members. There's actually not much to interact with around here. Okay, Censor. Ah, if it isn't the Fatebinder of Tunon, what an unexpected surprise. I am the Censor, and welcome to my camp. It's good to see a familiar face. The woman's voice carries a genial tone that doesn't quite carry all the way through her words. Sadly, I must say I can't entertain you properly at the moment. You've come at a very busy time for me. We're making a bold push to explore the library's depths. However, before we finish our pleasantries, you could satisfy my curiosity. Why are you here? With her question, her voice goes flat and takes an accusatory tone. Narat tasked me with retrieving the knowledge from the ruins here. Ah, you mean the Silent Archive. I had hoped to have retrieved it already, to avoid such a problem. Unfortunately, we haven't finished our search yet. If your goal is to find it, you should know that it's not as easy as just walking in there and taking it. Nothing ever is. It seems at the tricky stages we're afraid someone might want to take their precious archive and hide it behind a barrier. Arcane, impenetrable. Really a shame how many men we lost to rebounding spells. She waves a hand dismissively. So, my men are looking for the passcode to get beyond it. We don't know how many parts there are, just that they're somewhere inside the library. Not even these scholars have been able to find the pieces for us. Not yet, anyway. She motions to a nearby sage who stands with his head bowed in shame. So, I gave everyone some incentive to make a game and made a game out of it. Siren snorts derisively. Typical chorus. Not a shred of subtlety. You always come in and run roughshod all over things. Pain and torture being used as a game. Atrocious. Siren saying that? She seemed cruel and shitty to me before. This seems like something that Lantry might say, for example, or Barrack. But maybe not out loud. It's interesting that people don't understand how to properly motivate their underlings. If you don't keep them busy, they have time to plan, and that's never good. You are welcome down to the library, providing you agree to play by the rules of the competition. She titters with excitement. If you want to find the Silent Archive, you must take part in my game too. Wow, she seems obnoxious, doesn't she? I can attack her, betray the alliance right here. I just take the archive for myself. That's pretty funny. That's pretty funny. Alright, then tell me about this game of yours. Several Scarlet Chorus teams were dispatched down into the ruins of the library, each with some sages to serve as guides. The team who completes the passcode, gets through the barrier, and gains access to the Silent Archive will face glory and reward. The others? She draws a finger across her throat. Only one is allowed to succeed. If you wish to join the merry hunt, you will be yet another team racing against the others, though you won't be getting any sages, of course. Let's see. So everyone who fails on this mission dies, and only one team wins. Wow. This seems insane. I mean, I'll win, obviously, and even if I don't win, I'll just kill her. If she tries to kill me, I'll just kill her. I'm sure we can. So, the game doesn't really have stakes for me as far as I can tell. It's like, sure, I'll play along, but also, if I lose, I'll just win anyway. So what is the Silent Archive? The Archive is a sage's most guarded treasure, held in a grand chamber thought to contain more knowledge than all the tiers combined. While she's speaking to you, one of the horde approaches her with a parchment held out before him. She takes it from him, her head never turning to look away from you. There's a brief flare of bluish light from her hand, and she hands the parchment back to the horde. Stop bringing me wards I've already taken, or I will have your head. She speaks slowly, still looking at you, but with every word the horde pulls back, as if he is about to be struck. Put them in a separate pile so you know I've had them, or ask someone to read them for you. If I have to take in the same inane missive one more time, you will regret it. The horde backs away, murmuring apologies profusely as he does. That's pretty funny. So almost no one here can actually read, so they just have a bunch of papers, and they're just like walking up to her with papers, and they can't keep track of which ones she's even read already, because they can't read any of them. They're like, I don't know, it's a paper. Make piles. You gotta make piles. She addresses you again. I'm sorry you had to witness that. Now, where was I? Oh, yes, the Silent Archive. Our scouts have reason to believe it survived. Some magic keeps the library from being swallowed by fire, so perhaps it, too, protects the Silent Archive. We've come to destroy the Archive in Kairos' name. So you're going to destroy the Silent Archive, an artifact with more knowledge than all the tiers combined. Of course, Fatebinder, it is forbidden knowledge after all. And it's not like Narat doesn't have a plan. She stops herself and stands straight. Never fear, we will deal with the Silent Archive appropriately. That's surprising. I was sure that Nara would want it. Maybe he actually does, and she's just not supposed to tell me. What happened with the missive? What was that flash of light? I don't see how that's pertinent, but if you must know, you're not the only one with unique talents and tears, Fatebinder. Not everyone needs to use their eyes to read. Sending me to a library seemed obvious. She giggles. What a perfect way to collect knowledge. Oh, is she just going to absorb the knowledge of the books without even reading them? That makes sense in the time scale that she probably has time to be here. Did you just imply to a Fatebinder that you intend to retain all the knowledge in the Science Archives? The censor shakes her head vigorously. Certainly not. I have no idea how you got that idea. Just put that out of your head. Narat knows Kairos' laws and would never do anything to openly break them. Haha, I knew it. That's exactly what's happening. Of course that's what's happening. Okay. Tell me what you know about the Edict of Fire. I believe the Silent Archive at the heart of the developed Citadel was never destroyed. She says this almost conspiratorially. If that's true, it would explain why the edict is ongoing. She points towards the entrance in the mountain wall. If someone were to get down there and remove the Silent Archive from the library, I'm willing to wager it could be used to fulfill Kairos' will. You have sages working for you. How'd you manage that? The chorus can be most persuasive at times, and you know how we like to employ unconventional incentives. Her thin-lipped smile broadens. Okay, then I agree to the rules of the competition. We got... what? Oh, we lost loyalty and gained fear with Siren. Fatebinder, why are you even considering this, playing this insane game? You only further the cause of the Scarlet Chorus. Why? I'm just gonna push forward. It's fine. I just need to... They said I need to agree to it to move on, and I need to go inside, so let's just push forward and do what I want to do. This is what makes strong fighters. Can you not see that the adversity helps you grow? Everything is playing out exactly as it is supposed to. Excellent. Normally, I would ask you to prove your honesty and loyalty to the chorus, but your actions elsewhere have already shown that. You are free to enter. But I would still ask a favor of you. My assistant, Foul Murmur, has something he needs done. If you would be so kind, he is somewhere nearby. I believe he was recently occupied talking to one of the prisoners. So we're going back to the Foul Murmur then. Hey, we got a level up. That's good. So... here's the thing. There's the rough thing where the writing has been kind of restrictive lately, and I don't know how it's going to play out and what kind of options I'll have. But right now, my plan is that if I get... I'm playing this character as loyal to Tunon and loyal to Kairos, and not necessarily loyal to Scarlet Chorus or the Disfavored, and I only sided with the Scarlet Chorus to resolve the Edict and to further the goals of, the actual main group I'm supposed to be working for. But, if I get to the archives, I think I'm going to destroy the archives if I can. If I get the option. I think, much like how you got the option to kill, you had the option to kill the Forge character before they went to the Archive of Secrets. I think I'm going to try to destroy the Silent Archive before anyone from the Chorus gets to see it. Even if that means betraying the Alliance. Because that's what... Because I know they're going to use that against Kairos, and my character's supposed to be loyal to Kairos. I think that's where I'm going to go with this. Whereas if I suspect that the archive has some secret that tells people the weakness of Kairos in some way, and so because of that, if I ever get around to the playthrough I want to do, where I also do a character that completely betrays everyone and maybe even tries to side with Vendry as well, or at least tries to fight against Kairos and Tunon and obviously both factions and stuff like that, and goes independent. If I get the option to do that playthrough, and I get the time for that, I think in that situation I would try to take the archive for myself and read the information and try to figure out how to take down Kairos using that. Snuffing them out. Speak to Foul Murmur. Oh yeah, we got a level up. So I think with Lantry, I can keep pushing down this healing tree, and I want to. It's a cool tree that seems useful. But I just can't help but notice that, like, all of his spellcasting comes down to what his lore skill is. And you can pump lore up by 10 points at a time here in Lore Master. And I think putting a point into Lore Master will then give me access to Lore Master 2 next level up, which would be plus 20. So I could get 20 points of Lore Master over the course of 2 levels, which would get him over 100, which means he could do, for example, maybe AoE spells. But even then, like that would make it more possible for like later in the playthrough to have additional effects on the AoE spells, or even just have a whole bunch of crazy effects on his existing spells. So I think I want to go for Lore Master. There we go. Which takes his lore to 93. On top of that, lore is affected by wits. Oh yeah, I can't pump up wits anymore because I maxed that out, unless I want to wait for 2 points to show up to get it any higher. Lore is also affected by resolve. Barely. So every other point into resolve would increase it by a bit. At that point, lore is going to go up faster from just spellcasting more than anything else. So I could go for reducing his cooldowns more, or hit points, or accuracy. I don't think I need accuracy that much, because a lot of his spells, not all of them, he does a few spells that are illusion-based to screw with enemies a bit, but most of his spells are casted on allies, and I don't think accuracy matters for friendly spells. So at that point, I think, yeah, ability cooldowns is probably the way to go, because he's got this massive pool of different abilities and spells now, and the best way to keep him versatile then is probably to make it so he can cast them as frequently as possible, I believe. He has 103 control life. Wow. Yeah, that's affected by vitality, but I don't think he needs my help there. All of his stats are way up there. He's been casting. Dude's been busy. Okay, so if I want to take him back to the vendor, I could probably go train a few points into... Do I have access to lore trainers yet? I definitely can train him in something at the very least. Let's talk to Foul Murmur. The Fatebinder returns. Foul Murmur gives you a mock bow. He holds out a red-stained hand, then thinks better of it and retracts the offer. So what can I help you with, Fatebinder? So who are you? I am the Censor's primary attendant, and I oversee our efforts to access and ultimately destroy the Silent Archive. When I'm not managing people, I'm digging answers out of them like worms from dirt. Yeah, they say they're going to destroy the Archive. What they don't know is I'm going to keep them honest. What happened with the dead Earthshaker? Oh, him. He motions to the burnt figure at his feet, his tone one of amusement. This pebble-slinging mage thought he could slip past us. He nudges the corpse with his boot. And for what? To commune with rocks? I grant you that Kairos' edict shaped the local landscape in strange ways, but that was no excuse to try to sneak past our camp. It's probably a pretty good excuse, actually. What will become of this sage? Let's put it this way, the Burning Library isn't the most traditional site for Chorus encampment. If the best training available to us is live targets, then so be it. While he lives, the captive might surrender some useful information about the sages in the region we have yet to subdue. Interesting. So the censor said everyone gets to have a sage that accompanies them to help them through, except us. But I wonder if I can talk them into letting us take this one off their hands. Or maybe make them. Although I do have Lantry, of course. Although this guy's a local, though. I don't think Lantry was he? The censor says you have tasks for me. That I do. Though we've captured and subdued most of the surviving sages, those that escaped the library are rallying behind their de facto leader, Renata. The censor wants her killed to make sure that any remaining sages don't get ideas about taking this region back. The trick is finding her. As luck may have it, one of the patrols picked up this one. He gives a swift kick to the robed figure behind him. One of Renata's own. Perhaps you should speak with him. He's a rather poor conversationalist so far. He stares at you for a moment. Be careful though, Fatebinder. He doesn't have much left in him. If you're going to try to get some information from him, be sure to ask the right questions. As for me, I could use a break. Interrogation's thirsty work. Too many one-sided conversations. You can find me in camp if you need anything. Oh, maybe I can just recruit this person then. despite their attempts. There's one bloodhound watching him. There's Folant. The sage has clearly suffered at the hands of his captors. Burn marks cover his legs, and his shoulders slump unnaturally. Are his shoulders broken then? So he's a mess. He probably wouldn't be an effective guide because he might not be able to walk. Do what you will, Fatebinder. It matters not if I die, as long as my school's work lives on. I am not your enemy. Well, I probably am your enemy. That's not... I doubt that's a fitting... He's not going to take to that, I don't think. What do the sages want with the burning library? The sage narrows his eyes at you, his mouth presses into a hard line, and he shakes his head. The bloodhound next to you laughs. That's not how to get information. Need to use your fists. I can tell him to strike him, or I can strike him. How can I find Renata? Sage narrows his eyes at you, his mouth presses into a hard line, and shakes his head. Someone's a slow learner, isn't he? He mimes a punch. I'm not your enemy. Your actions speak louder than your words, Fatebinder. Empty promises mean nothing. So basically my options are to beat him or leave. Well... You would use fists when words could work much better. Let me try to convince him. Words didn't work. I had literally no other dialogue options. You're full of shit, game. He may simply be a sage, but he's still a mage. He deserves more than this. Fine, but if you can't get it, we will use violence. So did Siren's entire character just change overnight or something? None of her dialogue reflects any of her previous behavior I've ever... Like, the moment I got to this zone, it's like she's a different character. It's weird. It's fine, but if you can't get it, we will use violence. Siren kneels before Folant, humming a bright tune. She caresses his cheek, wiping the dirt and sweat from his face. He looks at her, transfixed. She leans forward and whispers something in his ear. Why couldn't I just immediately say, hey, Siren, use your mind control powers, get information out of him? But why couldn't I just immediately ask that because she was here? I had to be... I essentially had to play stupid and be like, I'm gonna punch him now in order to trigger this, which is weird. Renata. She's an effigy. The voice is low and emotionless. The sages are hiding there, trying to regroup. Siren turns to you and smiles. A distraught, impressionable mind is so easy to manipulate. Almost beneath me. That was easy. And I only had to punch him like once or something. And we got a chunk of experience out of it, which doesn't hurt. But unfortunately did not level up my character or Barrack. I was kind of hoping they would level up so I could get more experience out of them. Let's see. She's in the abandoned town of Effigy. So we probably want to go there next instead of pushing deeper inside, right? Since there's going to be barriers blocking us anyway. Maybe we can find outside information. There's Effigy. It also might not entirely hurt to go back to the mountain spire to train. 2 days. Let's do it. I had a character level up. Also, missives will progress, so that's nice. So we'll find Lantry someone to train him. Because he just leveled up. I gotta be able to... I'm sure I can... Because I have money now, I'm sure I can afford someone who could teach him lore directly and just really pump up that stat. That'd be nice. Let's see. I have no trainers here yet, right? Yeah, I haven't hired anyone here. Okay. Does lore even a thing you can train? This one teaches you elements. That's a good thing for our spellcasters. To complement our existing things we have access to. You can't train lore on people, can you? It kind of makes sense. It'd be a somewhat weird thing to be able to train people in. So maybe a spellcasting trainer, because I don't have one yet. Control frost, lightning, force, and illusions. No fire, and no vigor, and no life. Just a few of the attack elements and not the other ones, and no one else covers... Yeah, there's no one here to fill the gap either. Are they over here? Merchant, parry dodge, parry, physical stuff. Unique items for sale. No? Alright. Control force, control illusions. I could train his control illusions. That's something. That's about it though. Just gonna double check what this person has. Yeah, that's not gonna help Lantry very much. So let's go ahead and warp on back after we do the missives. Lovebridge, do you remember your training under Blade and Mark? I remember mine. Funny to think that you and I are about a century apart. But to Blade and Mark, we are all children. I am now the oldest of the court's children, and I've seen much in my time. It's probably for the best everyone assumes I'm old, harmless, and worth shuffling away in the archives. If I were scrutinized too closely, I'm sure Tunon would find I've grown lax in my spoiled old age. Part of why I am where I am is that I've kept my head down. You appear to be doing the opposite in some regards. That is beyond your control. You were chosen for the honor of proclaiming Kairos' edicts twice. To decline would have meant death, but to accept means you were placed on the stage for all to see. Kairos' most powerful weapon is not the edict. It's her ability to hand us rope that we willingly use to hang ourselves. Never forget this. There are numerous questions nestled in your request. What is it you wish to know most? Focus your primary inquiry, and I will answer as best I can. Fatebinder Meiotis. Or you can just answer all of them, but whatever. Ask about edicts and their nature or the spires. Let's ask about the spires. Dear Meiotis, it seems wise to know one's own domain, and seeing as I'm now the master of the mountain spire, I ought to learn all that I can. If you would share with me what you know of the spires, I would be in your debt. I'll start with what I know and have observed so far. The mountain spire seems to awaken at the same instant of Kairos' edict of execution was put to rest. There was a burst of arcane energy that drowned out my senses, and I awoke at the summit of the spire in what seemed to be just a few heartbeats of time. Atop the spire is an old sculpture of sorts. It seems to be from the core of the spire's mystic energy. I've been seeing visions and receiving sensations from the sculpture. It seems odd to describe it as talking to me, but that seems to be the closest analogy. Am I the first to report such things? There are other spires elsewhere in the world, correct? Well, I know there's other spires because I've already been to one. Whoops. Send. And that'll get back to us soon. In fact, the next missive will show by the time that I go off to the village I'm supposed to go to. You feel as if your reach is broadened. You can feel the push and pull of your influence growing throughout the tiers. If you concentrate, it would appear that you can begin to the same trance that showed you glimpses of the previous spire. So let's concentrate. You once more touch the sculpture, and once more your mind is flooded with sensation. This time your senses leaving your body, floating up, higher ever than the mountain spire, until all of Terratus is beneath your feet. From high above, you see the mystic currents moving about Terratus, billowing clouds of every color that churn about the realms. Even from this far away vantage point, the cyclones and currents of magic fill you with dread and foreboding. Let's send our senses towards these mystic currents. As you near the mystic currents, you hear inchoate voices, commands, proclamations, the stuff of edicts. All across Terratus, the edicts of Kairos, some centuries old, still live on. Their arcane signatures bright as the midday sun, seemingly stronger than the day they were proclaimed. As your senses float away from the arcane turbulence, you are struck by the fact that the land untouched by edicts appears to be in the minority. Even lands long ago conquered by Kairos are still haunted by edicts, whether because they still linger in the old days of conquest, or if they were cast more recently to suppress rebellion. Your senses cannot glean. Let's step away. So he's slowly covering they're slowly covering the entire map with edicts over time. That makes me wonder if that has significance to it. What if one of their goals is to slowly proclaim edicts over the entire world, and that gives them some sort of global control? Also, maybe another question: has there ever been an edict proclaimed where a previous one was resolved in the same location? I kind of wonder if they're blanketing the entire thing. Like, on one hand, we might find out that their goal is to cover the entire place with the energy of resolved edicts, and then on the other hand, we might find out that they can never recast in the same location, and it's spent ground occupied by a previous edict. There may be a rule here to discover about his will. Let's see, so we don't really have trainers here yet. I'm just going to double check what Reese had. Oops. I just did all of that wrong. Oh, lore. There we go. Boop. And now I can't do that anymore. I did it. Yeah, I kind of forgot about that. That I trained lore here last time. But he's got such a crappy score. Why does he stop at 50? Everyone else is better than this guy. That's a bummer. Alright, let's go buy the other guy. Might as well. Next time you travel to the training grounds. Fine, I'll awkwardly warp out of here. All I have to do is teleport to the other one really quick. Ta-da! Load for me. She's named Sage Lumosa. The sage before you is distracted, half muttering to herself while clutching the half-burnt remains of a scroll. Her hands are in motion, tracing the curves of some unknown rune. You suddenly hear the high-pitched cry of a carrier raven as it plummets to the ground, its feathers completely burnt away. They can't teach you fire, though, can they? She looks up from the noise and notices you. Well, that wasn't quite what I was expecting, but I suppose it's a risk when you, with a scrap of the original text. She uncorks a vial and splashes its contents on the bird, which remained completely still on the ground. Huh. I suppose it would have to be alive for that to work. Another lesson learned. She may not be very good at this. She turns to you to give you her full attention, her smile broad and energetic. Fatebinder! I may be here to offer my knowledge, but I shall forever be a student. Unfortunate results, but truly fascinating, would you agree? I hope you won't mind the occasional experiments. Of course, I'm here to provide you with whatever arcane knowledge you seek. What can I do for you, Fatebinder? What kind of experiments are you interested in? Must I restrict myself? I think about how much magic would go undiscovered if we had to limit ourselves. But I must confess a certain affinity for electricity applied to a wide variety of objects. Even if the results don't surprise, they always satisfy. What do you think of this spire? More impressive than I imagined, so many times before, from the ground. It is a bit breezy, though. That's a pain when your profession demands the obsessive collection of scrolls that are all too happy to scatter to the winds. Oh yeah, you're not getting those back if they fall. Good luck finding them. So, control frost, lightning, force, and illusions. In this character's case, we're talking illusions. There we go. So he's trained 25 ranks of illusions. 150 is the max, by the way. If only... So we'll be coming back here when Siren levels up too, then, because that's some of the main things she has access to. If we pump up that lightning, she could have some real cool, like, lightning storm spells coming up later when her lore gets high enough, I hope. I hope. Still, definitely gaps in what I can cast here. Gotta get that, instead of training grounds, we do need to have access to the other Spire upgrade, I think, to get proper access to high-ranking lore and fire and vigor training and everything like that. So, hopefully there's a tower over there. Let's check. So those are both spires. That one's in the middle of nowhere, that one's over there. Are they all along the old walls? There's one down there. Unfortunately, the place I'm at right now doesn't really have much of a spire nearby, does it? How do I get more spires? Is that later in the game? Maybe I have to finish what I'm doing right now first. Anyway, we'll warp back here. I don't think I have to warp back here. I think it automatically warps here regardless. But I think our next stop's going to be Effigy.